trust in the yes, sir. I will trust in the till I
Hello and welcome to the Hall of Wisdom. Yes, this first Saturday of February. It's the love month. Yes, and I have nothing but love for all of you. I want to thank you all in advance for the love, the gifts, the donations that you gave during the estate sale of my beloved Bishop Stephen B. Hall. And because of your donation, I am able to bless many students over the years with book scholarships, and it's all because of you. Yes, you can pat yourself on the back. And also, we're still taking donations as well. Thank you in advance for what you're going to do and what you've already done. So at this time, I need you right now to go ahead and tag at least 10 people. Tell them that we're on. Our beloved Bishop Stephen B. Hall is going to bring a right now word for this time that we're living in. With that being said, watch this next clip. God bless you.
Now when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a draught. And Simon answering said unto him, Master, we have toiled all the night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word I will let down the net. And when they had this done, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, and their net brake. And they beckoned unto their partners, which were in the other ship, that they should come and help them. And they came and filled both the ships, so that they began to sink. And when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he was astonished, and all that were with him, at the draught of the fishes which they had taken. The word of the Lord for the people of the Lord. I want to tag this text as the Lord shall give power to preach today from a strange tag, but hang in there with me. We'll get there together. I want to talk today for just a few minutes from this subject. Start your impossible. Start your impossible. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, whatever you do today, start your impossible. My brothers and sisters, I think I should begin this message by sharing with you that I am indeed a great fan of cinematography. I love cinematography. I love going to movies. I love watching movies. I know, pray for me. I know some Christians believe that it is a sinful act to go to the movies and enjoy a movie. There are those who believe that somehow or another it will taint your spirituality if you go and watch a 2-hour movie. So pray for me, because I plan on sending some more if that is in fact a sin. I love cinematography. I love watching movies. I've come to understand that there has been so much preaching material given to me and in the seats of a theater. But not only do I love cinematography in the genre of movies, but I love cinematography even as it relates to commercials. I love a great commercial. And if you're a person who loves cinematography, even on the level of commercials, then you understand this, that a person who loves commercials, the day that you look forward to and live for is the first Sunday in February. For those of you who don't understand what the first Sunday in February is, it's Super Bowl Sunday. And so not only do I stay tuned for the game, but I stay tuned for the commercials. I have my own award ceremony for commercials as it relates to the commercials given on that particular day. This year, the person who won my awards actually won the overall awards for commercial. It was a commercial given by the Toyota Corporation. Very unique commercial, because this commercial would have individuals coming on who were doing things that they should not be able to do. They were accomplishing things that they shouldn't be able to accomplish. And so they tagged this line of commercial campaigns by using this tag. They called it "Start Your Impossible." And when I looked at this commercial, it struck such a chord in my heart, Shadrach, that when I finished looking at the commercials, I went and did some background on the commercials. I discovered that this commercial, or this campaign rather, was the birth child of the CEO of Toyota. And he simply said that he wanted to do this line of commercials because it really spoke truth to power as it relates to his life. He said that he was able to accomplish things that people told him he would never be able to accomplish, and do things that people told him he would never be able to do. As a matter of fact, he really shared that when people said he couldn't do something, it became the fuel for doing it. And so he really wanted to encourage everyone around the world that wherever you are, whatever space you occupy, to start your impossible. Can I submit to you, brothers and sisters, that we are here 3 years fast forward because you have a pastor who believed that this church could start its impossible. It is a financial impossibility for a bank to give a new church a loan that does not have at least a 3-year history. Please come closer. So what I just really said to you is that you should just be qualifying for the loan this year. And here you are 3 years ahead of the game. Tap your neighbor. We're going to have some church. I see it coming. Tap your neighbor and tell your neighbor, we're already 3 years ahead of the game. So watch this. Come closer and then I'm off and running. If your church is 3 years ahead of the game, then how are you going to be 30 years behind the game? I need you to go up and down your row and tell Lottie, Toddy, and everybody, I'm getting ready to catch up with my church, because my church is ahead of the game. Some of y'all ain't shaking no hands. You ain't shaking no hands. I see you. You ain't shaking. I wore my good glasses so I could see you today. You ain't shaking no hands. Come on, tell your row that if you're going to be on this row, you got to catch up. Because this is the head of the game row. And so I came to tell you that this is the day. This day right here is the day that you start your impossible. As a matter of fact, if there's anything that I could say that I believe that would launch this message, it would simply be this. On your mark, get set, go! on your roll and just tell everybody on your mouth, get set, go. Okay, that are those of you who are looking at me in that tone of look that I don't like for people to look at me when I'm preaching the best I know how to preach. Because you're looking at me in that tone as if though there is some kind of homiletical, hermeneutical disconnect. You're saying to me that all that you're saying, Bishop, is good, fine, and wonderful. However, when you look at the pericope before you, it seems to me that your homiletics and your hermeneutics don't match. And that's why I can't get with you, because I'm a Bible person. I'm a Bible person. And I don't just jump and shout over anything. I knew that when I came here. I knew who the pastor was. I understand that Clinton McFarland is Mr. Homiletics. Y'all ain't have it. And so I knew that I would have to argue this case. And so here, come on, let's get started. When you look at this text screams starting and doing the impossible. But what this text not only shares is that if you're going to start your impossible and ultimately do the impossible, there are steps that must be taken, and there is a process to this whole thing. See, one of the problems that I have with Christians, especially those who are a part of the new church, is that we want everything in a microwave manner. I've come to tell you that many times success is not punch in 2 minutes and wait on it to get ready. Success is not given by way of microwave oven. It is given by way of conventional oven. And with a conventional oven, you got to preheat it and then wait on it to get ready. And then wait on the thing to get ready. Look at somebody, tell them it may take a minute, but it's going to happen. I don't know who I'm talking to. Somebody looking at me right now. Your issue is it didn't happen yesterday and it didn't happen the week before that. And so now you think God is not going to do it. Tell your neighbor this is an oven, not a microwave. But here is the great news. Here is the great news. Here is the great news. There are some things you can do with an oven you can't do with a microwave. Stop getting mad and stop being upset with people who have microwave kind of things going on in their life, and understand God is taking you by way of oven. Here's the thing that I've come to tell you. You can do a lot of things with a microwave, but you can't cook a cake in one. Not the kind of cake that I like eating. I mean, you just can't warm cornbread up in it. And you got to go through some special steps to warm cornbread up in it, because you can't put the cornbread in there and just cut it off. You got to wrap the cornbread in a napkin and sometimes even sprinkle a little water on, do all kind of little magical stuff, and then pray that it come out right. But I declare unto you, when my wife pulls out her big mama's cast iron skillet and start mixing stuff together and put it in that oven, I'll be upstairs telling the Lord, thank you for the food I'm about to receive. I haven't even gotten downstairs yet, but I smell the evidence of harvest downstairs. Yeah. So here it is. Come on, let's walk this text together, then we're out of here. There's some things that I see in the text. If you're going to start your impossible and ultimately experience the impossible, as a matter of fact, can I just ask a question? Is there anybody who wants to start and experience the impossible in this room? Well, I tell you what, every time I say if you're going to start and experience your impossible, you say, that's me. Let's get a little rehearsal. So therefore, when we look at this text and see where we're going to start and ultimately experience our impossible, Then the first thing that you must discover is that based on the text, starting and discovering your impossible begins with the reassignment of resources. You got to have reassigned resources. Look at your neighbor and say, reassign resources. The text opens by Jesus walking up to a boat. Now, the reason why he walks to this boat is because his crowd has grown. Please deliver me from people who want to make you believe that whenever you have a church this size, and I need to tell some of you, because there are times that people will try to pour salt and hate on you and make you believe that if your church is this size, it is because you're not holding up the bloodstained banner, and it is because you're compromising the gospel. The devil is a liar. Listen, let me help you to understand something. I wish my church was this size, and one day it will be. No. I wasn't asking you. I was telling you. But ain't no sense of me trying to hate on my brother now because his is this size. The best thing for me to do is to go and to find out what was your growing mechanisms. What did you do? Okay, because for all of those people that want to make you believe that the only thing that's spiritual is small, apparently they haven't read Luke chapter 5. Because the text says that the crowd became so large that Jesus now had to get in a boat to accommodate the crowd. Y'all ain't happy. Okay, and that's a very interesting point, because I remember when I was a little boy, one of the worst whippings I ever received in my life was after church was over and all the grown folk were talking. The children do what children do. You know, the children did what children do. And so we were around there playing, and just so happened our playing led us into the pulpit. We ran through the pulpit, and they grabbed me and whipped me and all kinds of stuff. That would not be legal in 2018. And they said to me, stand up there. That's holy, sacred. So holy, sacred. I remember when the choir director first time started directing from the pulpit, some of the saints had a fit. I mean, oh my Jesus, you thought somebody had cussed in church. Sound like it. That's sacred, holy. And here's what I've come to understand. Isn't it interesting how we always try to make stuff sacred and holy, and we refuse to be sacred and holy? I mean, you couldn't even lean on the communion table when I was a little boy. Lean on. Oh no! Get your hand off that communion. That's the holy communion table. And I got thinking about it one day. The Holy Communion table, I discovered that everybody in the Baptist churches that I grew up in, we all had the same Holy Communion table, which says to me that these Holy Communion tables were made by mass production. If in fact they were made by mass production, they were made in a warehouse, which says that there were some people working in the warehouse, working on the Holy Communion table, who probably had a fifth of Bacardi the night before. Y'all ain't happy. They had communion before you had communion. So this text helps us to understand that, because the Bible says that Jesus gets into a boat and he turns the boat into a pulpit. Not only does he turn the boat into the pulpit, but he gets into the boat and then he says, push me out a little. The reason why he tells them to push him out a little is because Jesus did not have EV monitors. EV as in electro voice. He did not have PV. He did not have speakers, monitors, power amps. He didn't have that. So he says, push me out a little bit, because here's what I understand. With a crowd this large, I need a PA system. So he uses the acoustics of the water to carry his voice. And so he starts preaching. You say, well, that has nothing to do with the reassignment of resources. It has everything to do with the reassignment of resources. Because what I told you about was the morning after. I told you about the morning after. But can I tell you about last night? Because what you got to understand, last night the same boat was occupied by a fellow by the name of Peter and his fishing buddies, his fishing partners. Now they were not just out there on a fishing expedition. They were not out there having some good old-fashioned male bonding. But this was their livelihood. This is how they made money. This is how they fed their family. And I don't know about the rest of the fellas, but I know that there was at least one fella present who was married. Since we had the couples today, there was one fella there who was married. You say, who was that? It was Peter. You say, you don't know if Peter was married or not. I do. I know by way of association, because one of the miracles that Jesus performed was healing Peter's mother-in-law. And here's what I do know. Not the sharpest pencil in the box, but I do know you got to have a wife to have a mother-in-law. And so the night before, they were out there fishing. And the Bible says that the report from the night is that it didn't go so well. As a matter of fact, it went horrible. The Bible says that Peter tells Jesus later on in the text, we fished, we toiled all night, caught nothing. So now, can you imagine what his disposition should have been like? I got to go home, tell Sister Peter, please contemporize it in your mind for just a second. Contemporize it. Catch this. Think about this, bro. Think about this. I got to go home, tell my wife, I've been out all night with the boys. We were supposed to be working, and I ain't got no money to show for it. Houston, we have a problem. But he, rather than being attitudinal, rather than complaining and murmuring, I discovered something. I wrote this in my notes. I said the interesting thing about Peter is that in this whole reassignment of his resources, he had a cordial countenance. He was friendly, nice. I said he had a cordial countenance. But the sub point B of my point number one, not only was there a cordial countenance, subpoint A, but subpoint B is he has this cordial countenance in the midst of a cash flow calamity. He got a money problem, yet he's cordial. He has an issue, yet he's cordial. Please come closer. I want to share with you. Maybe if the church could ever learn that. Nobody should be able to tell what's going on with you and how bad last night was, because your countenance ought to remain the same. Everybody can tell when you done had a bad night, because you come in here and you don't like nobody, don't speak to nobody, angry that they're speaking to you. But I come to tell you that what I've learned how to do in my life, even in recent years, I have learned how to be happy and act happy even when I ain't happy. Say, why would you do that? That seems hypocritical. No, it's not hypocritical. But what I'm doing with my actions action is speaking those things that be not, even though as if they were. In other words, sometimes you got to sow the seed of happiness in your sadness so you can reap the harvest of happiness. He's cordial. He's cordial. He's cordial. Watch this. He is cordial even after having been deboned by Jesus. I'm not making this up. It's in the text. I'm done. When you read the text, the Bible says Jesus gets in one of the boats and then tells him to push away. Okay. What you missed was this. This is not Jesus' boat. It's Peter's boat. Jesus does not say good morning. He does not ask Peter, how you doing? He doesn't even do like the police. He don't pull out a badge and say, we are commandeering your car. He just gets in the boat and then start giving orders. Push me out. If that ain't deboned, I don't know what is. Gets in the boat, tells him, push him out. And Peter could have been attitudinal and told him, man, this is my boat. You can't tell me what to do. Matter of fact, get out my boat. As a matter of fact, some of y'all that's looking at me that I'm looking at, some of y'all that's looking at me that I'm looking at, some of y'all that's looking at me that I'm looking at, you know you would have messed up the whole text because you'd have been in the, you don't know how long it took for me to pay for this boat. You ain't going to just be rolling over. I don't care if you is Jesus the Christ. Does exactly what he says. He pushed him out, let him preach, didn't ask for a thing. Watch this, this is incredible. He pushed him out, let him preach, and never asked for a thing. Have y'all ever noticed that? See, sometimes y'all think that please get this, this is going to really mess you up. At this point in time, Peter is not even yet connected with Jesus. It is after this that Jesus makes him a disciple. So this is pre-disciple era. And he is now acting more like a disciple than some of us that's been with him a long time. Because you know, one of the real reasons that some of us do the stuff we do for Jesus is so we can ask him for something after we do. Doesn't never ask for a thing. So you said, why do you call that reassigning his resources? Because to a fisherman, his boat is one of the most valued commodities that he owns. Let me ask you this. With your saved self, when was the last time you turned over to Jesus one of your most valued commodities? A primary possession and not a secondary possession. If you're going to start your impossible, you got to say to the Lord, there is nothing I have that you can't get. Over the years, people ask me, how did you get this? How did you get that? How did you get it? I said, here's how I got it. The Lord knows that if he gives it to me, he can get it whenever he wants it. Could it be that the Lord doesn't give you things because he knows that if he gives it to you in the spirit of management, you will switch it to the spirit of ownership? So that's my point number one. Point number two. If you are going to start your impossible and experience your impossible, oh, we done lost some folk already. They don't want to be impossible now. Because I got to give Jesus my vote. No, not me. But for those of you who are left, if you're going to start your impossible, here's the second thing. Not only must there be the reassignment of resources, the second thing I see in the text is a ridiculous request. Reassign resources, ridiculous request. Okay, after Jesus finished preaching, Peter asked him for nothing. But Jesus says, now that you have done something for me, I want to do something for you. See, that's why you don't necessarily have to ask him. You can ask him. The Bible says, ask and it shall be given. The reason why the Bible tells you to ask, it has nothing to do with Jesus. It has to do with you. Asking does nothing for him. It does everything for you. He uses your asking to help your faith. So watch this. Peter asked him for nothing, but Jesus says to him, all right. He never says, thank you for letting me use your boat. He just simply says, launch out into the deep, let down your net for a drop. Still D-boat. Launch out into the deep, let down your net for a drop. Ridiculous request. Said, why would that be a ridiculous request? Because first of all, here is this. Number one, it is morning. Number two, they failed last night. Number three, you're asking them to go back to the same place that they failed at the worst time of the day. So now you understand Peter's response. I'm going to get to his response in a minute. Jesus says, launch out into the deep, let down your net for a draught. Ridiculous request. But I want to tell you this. Jesus is constantly making ridiculous requests. He'll tell you to do stuff that he know you're going to say that don't make no sense. He'll tell you to do something crazy like bring your tithes into the storehouse and you already about $300 short every month in your budget. Ridiculous. He'll tell you stuff like if somebody hits you on one cheek, turn to them the other. Now, if you from where I'm from, that's ridiculous. I am from Vine City. If somebody hits you on one cheek, the only reason you turn on the other is because you're trying to get a good swing. Ridiculous. He tell you stuff like pray for those that despitefully use you. Ridiculous. Where I'm from, you don't pray for people that's using you. You cuss them out. Constantly making ridiculous requests. But the reason that he makes a ridiculous request is because he's after a radical response. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, Jesus wants something radical out of you. Because watch this, if you're going to do the impossible, you got to be radical. Some of y'all trying to do the impossible and be reasonable at the same time. Reasonable and impossible don't go together. But radical and impossible do go together. Okay, so watch this. He says, launch out to thee, let down your net for a drop. Ridiculous. But then he gives a radical response eventually. Now he doesn't start off radical, and some of y'all who are looking at me say, well, that's my problem, that's why I don't have. Well, the good news is Peter didn't start off radical. He started off reasonable. As a matter of fact, he's trying to read Jesus on the slide. Oh yeah. My mother was fabulous with that. She was such a classy lady. She would never just really get you told. She would do it so gracefully that you would tell her thank you after she finished. She would have called you something really bad and you'd be like, well, thank you. So here it is. Jesus says, launch out into the deep, let down your net for a drought. Peter starts off reasonable. He says, we have toiled all night. Caught nothing. Now he's snapping on Jesus. Because what he's really saying is, now I just heard you preach. And you're a really good preacher. You should stick to that. And leave the fishing to fishermen. Because first of all, Jesus, respectfully, sir, you trying to get me to go at the wrong time of the day. We don't fish in the morning. We fish at night because fish are caught at night, not in the day. And you telling me to go out here in the heat of this day and try to catch some fish? First of all, I went at the right time and didn't catch nothing. But I believe Peter really got to thinking about who he was talking to. He really got to thinking about what this man was saying to these other folk that was so profound and so wonderful. He says, but nevertheless, and I want to tell you, if you're going to have an impossible become a reality in your life, you got to have that aha nevertheless moment. You got to be able to say like Peter, I toiled all night, I failed last night. Watch this, because some of y'all try to make it seem like some people have failed because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing. But the text says that Peter was in the right place at the right time doing the right thing and still failed. Here's what you got to understand. I'm about to shout. I'm about to throw this mic down and run up 138 doing the Watusi. Here's what you got to understand, brothers and sisters. Sometimes you are experiencing ordained failure. And the issue with ordained failure, see, it don't feel like that in stage one of ordained failure, but just keep riding it out. Because the thing with ordained failure is that the ordained failure will always bring you to the point of failing forward. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, it may look like I'm going to be a complete failure, but tell them I'm just failing forward. Because what some of y'all don't know, and the reason why you're looking at these folks standing up, because these folks standing up are really smart people. Here's why they're smart. Because they are so smart that they understand that scientifically, a success and a failure, they're both called the same thing, an experiment. So watch this. He said, we toiled all night, nevertheless, at thy will, we will let down the net. And I said to myself, Peter, thank you so much for helping me with this. I said, but Peter, all them words you said is too much. I got to make this portable for the people at Grace to take it with them because they got busy lives. These are executives. These are people who got stuff going on in their life. They can't be remembering, nevertheless, at thy will, I will let down the net for the drought. Got to run a business, got children to take care of, got husbands to love, wives to love, and to love, and to love, Wives who have a great list of things. We as men know that favor ain't fair, but we also know it ain't free. Oh no, I know that having my wife is favor. God favored me. But it ain't free because I got a lot of receipts to prove it ain't free. I'm like, baby, how many pocketbooks do we need? So watch this. He says, I said, Peter, you got to help me make this portable. I said, Peter, give me, just break it down. Can you get it to 3 words so they can remember it? He says, okay, I'll help you with it. He says, I said, nevertheless, at thy word, I've let down the net for the drought. He says, but really, to make it portable, here's all Jesus really wanted to hear from me. I said, what is it? He says, nevertheless, one, I too will. He said, that's all Jesus really wanted. All that other stuff I could have left out, because all Jesus really wants out of me is a nevertheless I will. Can I tell you, if you're going to do your impossible, you got to stop listening to the conditions, and you got to stop listening to haters, and you got to stop listening to people, and just go on and say, nevertheless, I will. I'm done when I tell you that Peter wasted some time. Peter wasted time telling Jesus about how he had toiled and failed. I want to submit to you that rather than Peter making a statement, he should have been asking a question. I know y'all looking at me in that tone of look that I don't like for folk to look at me in, because you look like you were raised by the same Big Mama I was raised by. You know what Big Mama said to you? Don't ever question the Lord. But the problem with Big Mama and them, they told me this stuff and then sent me to seminary. And what I discovered, brothers and sisters, is that God, neither Jesus, have a problem with questions. The reason why they don't have a problem with questions is because they have answers. The only people that have problem with questions are the people who have no answers. What you got to understand, the Lord shared this with me at 10,000 feet in the air. I said, Lord, are you sure you don't have a problem with questions? He said, Steve Hall, I need for you to understand, and I wrote these words when he said it. He says, I'm not some isolated, he says, tell the people that God is not isolated in some intellectual infirmary because of his because he is ill prepared to answer our inquiries. In other words, he says, I ain't just stuck in a room because I can't handle your questions. He says, I am God. I am able to do the impact. I can answer any. Matter of fact, he says, I can answer questions you refuse to ask. So you say, well, since he shouldn't have made a statement and asked a question, you said, what question should he have asked? Here's the question. What he should have asked is, why did I fail? Why did I fail? And some of y'all going to give this answer, which is the answer that they pass out in church. He failed because the devil is busy. Absolutely, positively wrong. His failing had nothing to do with the devil. First of all, the devil don't control fish. He didn't make them. He can't control them. So if the fish didn't swim the night before, could it be that they didn't swim because Jesus held them back? And sometimes Jesus will hold stuff back on you in order to get you to move forward. Some of y'all thinking that you lost some friends and I don't understand why they walked out. He may have kicked them out. Because he know you didn't have the wherewithal to do it yourself. And really when you look back on it, those friends that left 5-6 years ago, how much further are you now than you were when they were in your life? Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor he'll hold the fish back on. So you say, well, why did he hold the fish back? He held the fish back because Jesus was not working on their fishing. Jesus was not trying to get them more fish. Yeah, but I came to tell y'all that the reason why he held the fish back is because more fish was not what they needed. What they needed was more faith. And look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor that could it be that he's trying to work on your faith? And sometimes he will allow collapse and calamities to come into your life. Yes, Lord. Not because he's trying to take you down, but because he's trying to get you to look up. And sometimes the only way some of us will look up is when we're laying flat on our back and we have no alternative. But I came to tell somebody today that no matter how he does it, the Lord can get it done. Y'all ain't happy. Lean over and shake somebody's hand like you're gonna shake it off and tell them, neighbor, neighbor, it doesn't matter how he does it as long as he gets it done. And he would have told him, Peter, I'm working on your faith because if I had just let the fish swim, you wouldn't learn what you're about to learn right now, because skills will get you some fish, but faith will get you a multitude of fishes. Y'all ain't happy. Skills will help you to chase fish, but look at what he says. When I get through with you, you started chasing fish, but by the time I get through with you, fish are going to be chasing you. Look at your neighbor. Tell him, early this year I was chasing fish, but right now I'm turning it around and fish is getting ready to chase me. Yeah. Anybody that knows the Lord is getting ready to let this take you. Let me hear you. This is getting ready to change you. I ain't done this a while, but I feel like doing it. Look at somebody and tell them this preaching is getting ready to match your life. Because years ago, I used to do it all of the time. I was doing my preaching, what is called musically modulated. And I would modulate. What that means is I would go from one key to the next key. And somebody asked me, why did you start doing that? Well, the truth of the matter is, I had a PD experience. I was stabbing. I had all kinds of hell breaking loose in my life. But every preacher in here knows that a whole lot of time preaching is good therapy. And as I was preaching, I was working out my own problems. And every time I thought about where my life was going, I would modulate. And every time I modulate, I would say, and I. And they said, why did you say, and I? Because I was prophesying to where my life is. So I want to tell somebody, your life may be rough and rugged. You may have been chasing fish, but I came to tell you, fish is getting ready to chase you. And I need for you to know that not only is fish getting ready to chase you, but here's what I want to tell you. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, have it entered into the hearts of men those good things that God has for you. And I know that I've been young and now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor their seed beg for bread. And I can tell you this, and we know that all things work together for the good of them that love God, those who are the called according to his purpose. And I came to tell you that my God shall supply all of your needs according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. I'm tempted to, I should stop right here, but because we're doing the impossible, I believe I got one more. And
I told you it would be a right now word. Thank you again for tuning in to the Hall of Wisdom. I need you to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share the word with everybody you know, and we will see you next month. Same time, same channel. God bless you. Have a good one.